Chris EM7FJ says, I want to invest in some sealed products for far in the future, especially for my sons when they're older. I know it's not easy to predict, but what would you recommend buying? For example, ETBs, booster boxes? Well, Chris, we're going to answer that today. Before we jump into answering that question, which I think is actually a really good one and a reasonable one to ask, especially with all the different sets going on crazy and stuff like this just hanging out in the ether, ready to go. Evolving Skies going out to one lucky winner. I just want you to have a chance at winning that 6,000 subscribers. I'm doing the giveaway. The giveaway gives away that 3-pack blister of Evolving Skies along with 5 Pokemon mystery card lots. All you got to do is be part of the channel, but most importantly, you need to put your comments in the right place. So go over to this video here and leave an additional like and comment on that video for your official entry point into that giveaway once we reach 6,000 subscribers. And thank you for all the support so far, because we've gotten some pretty good growth in the past few days, week or so. It's been really kind of picking up steam a little bit. So I appreciate you all being here and being a part of the channel, and hopefully we can get out the winners soon. I say additional like and comment because please be part of the channel officially. Go down below, like, comment, and subscribe. It's time to get into this because it's a good question and a lot of people have it. What do you invest in? Well, let's start with this. This is not a financial advice channel. I have a lot of financial advice that I can give, and I don't know if Pokemon would be my first pick for financial advice and where to go with things. However, it's an interesting piece to diversify for part of your portfolio and have fun and enjoy it in a different way. So if we're going to look at this from an investment standpoint, I know some people are sick of the investment side of Pokemon. If you are, maybe today's video is not for you, and there's other stuff in the future down the line, so I appreciate sticking around in some fashion, whether it's today or later, whatever. But if we're going to look at it purely on the idea of holding on to something for the long term, which is my go-to, what does that mean? What should you be looking for? Well, I answered that question already, but I want to answer it in this video a little bit more in depth. I said, great question, booster boxes, Pokemon Center ETBs, and hot sets. Booster boxes are relatively small with a lot of packs, and it gives you a lot more value as a sealed piece. Pokemon Center ETBs are somewhat difficult to acquire, however, the exclusivity will pay dividends over enough time. The last point of hot sets is a little bit more in depth, but you can trust simple things like sets that include very popular Pokemon. Prismatic Evolutions being all about evolutions is a great example. 151 containing the original series of Pokemon in a new modern way is another great example. Let's dive a little deeper, just a little bit, because this is a huge question. So let's kind of just scrape at it. I really did mean that. Booster boxes and Pokemon Center ETBs, especially Pokemon Center ETBs. ETBs are good, but especially Pokemon Center ETBs. And then hot sets, which is the most difficult to determine. I want to take a look back at some Sun and Moon here. Sun and Moon Crimson Invasion. It's arguably the worst set of the Sun and Moon era. Why would I be bringing up the worst set from the Sun and Moon era? Well, the market will tell you why. Over the past year alone, we've seen an increase from a $200 booster box, $213, to now what it's showing is a $375 booster box. However, the more time that goes on, the fewer that come to market, and people who are buying or holding to complete a collection, or they actually wanted a chance to open it, or whatever the case might be. And you have some listings, which are very few and far between. There's going to be more in other different ways, going to storefronts, going to card shows, going to eBay, things like that. But the lowest listing on TCG Player currently today is at $635. If you're the only one holding it, you can set the price. Now, getting that $635 is really difficult because market says it doesn't quite reach that. However, availability says you're going to pay up if you want to get it. So if you hold long enough, all things can end up going up a little bit in value in this space. To a crazy end, not always, but booster boxes are a nice metric to go off of because they have historically performed quite well. This compared to the best performing or most expensive booster box of the Sun and Moon era, the Team Up booster box. This one going for a staggering $6,397 and change. Again, there's only one listing out there. So we're talking $10,000 for this box. And just in the past year, it was a $2,300 booster box. People looking at Evolving Skies going, oh, it won't really get that much higher or anything. Evolving Skies could easily be the set of the Sword and Shield era, just like Team Up was the set of the Sun and Moon era. Does that make it a $10,000 booster box? Not today, it doesn't, but maybe someday. And that's the thing to think about. When you look at the battle styles being the worst of Sword and Shield, This one tipped over $200, and it's been floating right around there. In fact, no booster box is performing less than $200 right now in this middle of July 2025. End of July? My goodness, this year. Nothing is performing under $200 just yet. But there's a downward trend, and we could get there. We're at a $200 or $206, $208 if you count that shipping on the worst of Sword and Shield for battle styles. We just mentioned it, Evolving Skies being the best. We're already tipping over that $2,000 mark, which is fairly recent, 1987. 2014, lowest listing is showing at the $2,200 mark. Again, the longer this goes, the fewer of them are going to sell, and it's going to be held longer. People will open them because there were so many of these boxes printed. Way more than we ever saw in the Sun and Moon era, because Sword and Shield just had that big of a boom behind it. And even more so in Scarlet and Violet. Things have been growing in this crazy space that we're in. But the current lowest listing booster box right now is going to be the Journey Together one out of Sword and Shield. Sorry, Scarlet and Violet. Where are we? Scarlet and Violet. Journey Together is the lowest listing, which is interesting because we've been on this hype train for a while now, for about half a year, a little more than that, I guess, since like November of last year. And now we're seeing this flatlining in the $200 range. Well, this just seems ridiculous. Let's get a little bit longer. It actually has been kind of growing a little bit steadily here. And, you know, that's all well and good. It's a smaller set, not too difficult to complete if you wanted to go that route, and definitely not too difficult to complete if you wanted to just buy on the secondary market single cards and make it happen that way, which, in my opinion, would be the way to go for a set like this. Same thing for something like Stellar Crown. But still, the booster box, MSRP is $162, and the fact that this is floating around $220 right now, this early in its existence, this has room to go up. It has room to go down. But I don't think we're going to see that MSRP price for a while, even still. Distributors are raising prices across the board, not just a few of them. All of them are doing it, even though Pokemon doesn't seem to be raising their prices just yet when it comes to the new Mega Evolution era. However, we are seeing this leveling of this new norm, 200 and above, for booster boxes. So if you're okay going in at this price, I think you're going to see some growth out of it, because even still, Scarlet and Violet, Black Bolt, White Flare just came out, and we're just getting to the end of the Scarlet and Violet era, and we can already tell you that right now, Paldea Evolved is performing the best out of all booster boxes. All right, booster boxes do very well, and in this relatively short time of its existence, yes, it's on the downward trend by a few dollars, $263 for the market price, but it's coming down. People are trying to compete, and that's why you have this. Or sorry, did I say $363? That's why you have this competing offer here at $357, you know, just to bring it a little bit easier for people to go ahead and purchase. Because, again, the newer you get, it shouldn't get this crazy on price. But the fact that it is moving this quickly, this fast, this high up, these are the things to hold on to. These are things to wait till you get to that time frame of being a bad booster box that's now worth $600, being a great booster box that's now worth $10,000. Let's be clear, though. This is somewhat of an anomaly. This would still be pretty relatively new compared to the entire franchise. And for it to be up this high, that's pretty wild stuff. So I wouldn't base everything off of the highest and lowest performers, but it's just to give you how wide of a gambit it is between a specific era of Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, now Scarlet and Violet. Moving into things like a Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box, it happens to be that the Scarlet and Violet era Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Boxes, these are going to be the exclusive ones with the stamp promos. The Paldea Evolved is the best performing outside of specialty sets. Now I put that little asterisk there because specialty sets are even harder to come by in a lot of different ways, in a lot of different reasons behind that. The boom especially on any recent stuff, but things like Prismatic Evolutions are extremely difficult to acquire, even still. This one is doing very well considering this retails MSRP was $60. $60. And now it's it's going to be approaching $400 before you know it here. Let's take the last year on this one and just take a look at it. $90 a year ago. We all say, like, oh, I wish I could have been there. Yes, we all wish we could have been in on the hobby a year ago doing these things and predicting the future, but you can't predict the future. So you can see where you are now and look at this trajectory of Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Boxes and go, that's a viable option. So if you can get anything new that's Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box exclusive, there's potential. a lot of potential and a lot of history to show this, that there's going to be a growth ahead of you. That's all this is. It's an observance of the past to have a better predictor of the future. Not that any of us can predict that future. Obsidian Flame, similar story. It wasn't always a $380 box. It was once upon a time a $75, $100 box. This was the only one that I bought in the secondary market because I passed on the Pokemon Center. It was just like, oh, I'm kind of dialing back or whatever, and fine, I'll pick it up. And I think I got it at like $65 instead of $60. Okay, great. I didn't have to pay too much to get mine because I finally reacted once it was sold out and got it at a time when it was much easier to do so. And now it's a good thing to be holding on to. That Charizard stamp promo has taken this to a new height. Obsidian Flames was kind of a past set for a lot of people. Just, it's just another Charizard set. There's a lot of them in there. That's great. Pull rates are really good, so it's not as much of a hunt, all that. And there's a lot of reason for why things would degrade in value upon initial release or boom in value based on what's in a set or availability or just the craziness within the hobby. And it's always moving like that. It's always fluctuating. So if you are looking now, you are in it here and now. Don't look so far back and think you missed opportunities. Look forward and see what opportunities are in front of you and take advantage of them. Not every era comes out with this, but every once in a while they come out with something like the 151 set. This one coming out and the Pokemon Center exclusive version of the Elite Trainer box, and the fact that you have that Snorlax stamp promo, the fact that it's 151, all of those specialty things going into it. There is no booster box for the set. All of that has been just making this go through the roof. Wild to think that in the past 3 months it's still been over the $400 mark. In the past 6 months, it's been over 300, almost over 350. So this one has been growing nonstop. Even a year ago, 132, 129, but now we're looking at 650. Lower listings are putting it at 710. Whew. You can't predict all of them to turn into this. I think 151 was a little bit more obvious to say, yeah, it's going to go that way, or at least it easily could. But then another one that showed up, I think, created the hype, and I wouldn't overpay for it even still, but I would look for opportunities to pick it up because it should exist on shelves for the next year, year and a half, 2 years. Prismatic Evolutions. There's so many high value cards. I know this was at $1,600 for the Umbreon EX. Now it's down to $970, and it's still decreasing. Still, that's a crazy price for a new card. $362 on the Sylveon, $264 on the Leafeon. You get to just the Eevee itself, still a $118 card. There's all these other ones ahead of it. This is a set worth holding on to if you can, and especially sealed. If you have the sealed product, hold it, because something like the Prismatic Evolutions, Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box, we've seen a few restocks on this, which I don't feel like has been the trend lately on Pokemon Center products. Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs especially. And those restocks come with a dip. And then it starts taking off in the market, and the restocks come with a dip. And then they come with a dip. But eventually, we're done with this. And we will see those heights of, $289. I sold one, where was it? 340 or something. 330, something like that. I sold one back in March because I had enough that I could do that. And I'm sure the person right now is like kicking themselves because they paid that. But if they were listening to this, if they were aware of my channel, I don't know if they are, don't worry about it. You didn't overpay. You paid market value. Hold on now. Hold on to this wild ride. If you didn't open it, hold on to it because it's going to get there again. The question is when? I don't know, but it will get there again. A set like this, it'd be stupid if it didn't. So taking into consideration the question of what should you invest in, booster boxes are almost always a safe bet. Let me correct myself. The Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes have been something I've been speaking to the entire time in the Scarlet and Violet era, and then a little bit into the Sword and Shield era because of the way those earlier releases went with the flub on Chilling Reign and the fact that the Evolving Skies had some pretty cool artworks and a little bit of a difference within their ETBs. But even back then, it was pretty cool. The Scarlet and Violet changed everything with that Pokemon Center stamped exclusive. I've been talking like they're one of the greatest things they've done in a long time. And other people have been writing them off like, who cares? This, folks, is the version of a first edition stamp. That is, it's the modern version of a first edition stamp. So if you have any Pokemon Center stamped cards, I would recommend holding onto those. If you have sealed product that contain it, I would recommend holding onto those. Don't open them. It's not worth opening them in this day and age right now because the market's so crazy. If things are easy to buy, you can open it and enjoy the hobby, that's when you do it. When they're difficult to buy, they're hard to acquire, they're expensive to acquire, don't open it. Hold on to it. See where it goes. Maybe that's the investment piece, and the hobby stuff is yet to come. This video is way too long, but I hope it was decent advice and some good understanding. And really, this is not for me to advise you on what to do. It's me sharing my journey and what I've done and the things I've seen over years of doing this now. And just, if I have to take a 10,000 foot view at this, what should I be looking at? Booster boxes, Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes, specialty sets that kind of just easily add up in a logical sense. Prismatic Evolutions, 1v1, those are the kinds. Those are the kinds that you want to be looking for. I hope it helps. I do post 7 days a week, and with that, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.